Welcome to the first of the year, PowerShell Gainesville User Group. Excited to have everyone here. Tonight we're going to have a presentation by Angel, followed up by some time to talk afterwards. In particular, I'm looking to hear kind of how you guys are using PowerShell, what you hope to get out of the group, some topics you want to see this year. I think for this group this year, we're going to have an in-person every month, shooting for the last Wednesday. There's a couple days where we can't get the library for that day, and probably have some in-person speakers for that, and then also have a virtual option some other time in the month, get some other people in the community speaking, and it'll be at different times. So maybe during lunch hour, maybe during evening times, maybe some European time zone thingies. But yeah, that's that. Thanks to our sponsors, PDQ. Appreciate them. They are providing the pizza, and also afterwards, if we're going to have a little post show at an undecided location. We're kind of going between Crafty Bastards or Cypress and Grove. So afterwards, we'll have a little get together, a post-game, post-conference kind of hangout thing. I think that's all that I have for now. I'm really excited for this group this year. We had some great meetings last year, kind of fell off, but this year I'm really looking forward to bringing it home strong. And Angel, you can go ahead and take it away. I think that's all I got to do, right?
That's it.
Okay, cool.
Well, thank you, Andrew. And thank you for the great food, PDQ. Welcome, everybody. I'm not a great speaker, but I wanted to come and do a quick talk on PowerShell and just get back to the community. A lot of good people out there that are just doing amazing work. And they always say that if you could teach it or try to teach it, you'll learn it better. So that's why I'm here. So again, welcome, everybody, and thank you for coming. All right, so let's get started. So I want to start off with something that I heard Jeffrey Snover say one time. And basically, it basically says that, so in the IT profession, we learn new things. If you don't want to learn new things, you should go into lumber. There's never been a new tree in quite a long time. So I thought that was something pretty cool. And only because like I've been postponing PowerShell for quite some time now. And it's just something that you just can't get away with. Every time you turn something on in IT, is PowerShell this, PowerShell that. So it ain't going away. Microsoft is investing a lot of resources in PowerShell. So I thought that was a good thing to start off with. This is my agenda for today, my overview. Again, this talk is very basic. There may be a lot of people out there that are just really more advanced. I just think that I got to get out here and just do it. So this is the agenda we have of, some of the topics that you're going to expect to hear. What is PowerShell, why we need to, a way to install it, some post installation, and then help. I know that most of us use VS Code. ISC is kind of like, it's not dead, but they're not doing anything. They're not going to advance it. Variables, some modules, some security, because that's always, I heard some things about security that people think that it's bad. And there's some resources of links of people that I follow in the community. So what is PowerShell? This has been around since 2003, and it was called Monad. Basically, it was a way that people needed something besides VB script, and this was built on, at the time, the .NET framework, and it just took off. People, when it was introduced, people who wanted to pay for this. There was a guy, I think is one of the guys that I read. He said that he wanted to give Joe Snover money to want to start using this right away, and it was a free product. And the community, the system administrators that used to use like VB script, they were just all for it. It's not going away. There's a link. If you guys want to read about it, I'll probably put some notes on the Meetup. There's a link to the Monad Manifesto if you guys want to read that. So that just basically, it's an easy to use command line. And I just think that someone that's starting to be new to learn PowerShell is just looking at all the extra code instead of just focusing on some of the most simple things to get to that. The GUI does not scale well. That's why we need PowerShell. Just not going to work. So PowerShell is basically, it has the basic syntax. It's a verb noun. Do something to something. That's it. You know, I mean, you get something and you do something to that, right? So I put down the three, I think that from my studying, the three basic commands that would help anybody start off with PowerShell. Get command, get help, get member. Number two should be number one, really. But get help gives you everything you need to get started with PowerShell. And get member will also gives you some properties of the command. So I think that this is really something that you take away and you go along with these three commands. I've learned a lot from them. And whenever I'm stuck, I just refer to these three and I see myself going back to these three constantly. Get command, all my commands, get help. How do I do something? And then I get member. So why learn it? Why should I learn it? Well, it used to be called Windows PowerShell. Now it's just called PowerShell. Why? Because you could put it on Windows, Linux, Mac, right? So, and again, Microsoft is heavily investing in this. So us IT professionals need to know that it's not going to go away. They say, would you rather do one click or 1,000, right? You got new users, automation. It's better than the GUI, right? It eliminates thousands of hours of manual labor. I had to pull out, and a quick example, I had to pull out some information from a user. I had to copy the groups of one user and compare it to another one. It's a lot to pull. I just ran a PowerShell command. It spit out everything into a text file, and I just was able to kind of compare both of them without having to copy and paste in the properties of ADUC. To install PowerShell, so PowerShell is right now at version 7.4.1. And to install it, there's a few spots to learn it. To install it. I put some links up there to kind of show where you would get it at. And then I also put it I took some screenshots of different places that you could get it. How, like the command to install it if you wanted to install it. It's straightforward. If I could do it, anybody could do it. So, post-installation, I think that for myself, one of the things that I refer back to the commands that I said was, one of the things that I would do is update the help. Because if you don't have the latest help, you're not going to be able to use the get help command. Some of the stuff will be outdated. Microsoft doesn't send everything updated. They have to, you have to go and get it. So once you install it, I put the version, make sure you got the right version, did it install correctly. This will kind of like that command, that PS version table, that will give you the version. And a question that people might say is, well, why does it have a $sign in front? Well, we'll get to that. And then, like I said, update help is very, very important. And this is how more or less what getting help would do for you, right? So you would get help and you would type in the command you want. In this example, I use get help and get command, and it gives you, the synopsis, the syntax, description, and then you can kind of go into like further ones. Like this one gives me get help, get command, and I put examples. So it will give me, if I don't know how to use the command, then I would use get example. It would give me some, okay, this is how I would, here's an example, get command list imported. So these are the things that would help you learn it. You don't know how to type it out, so you get examples. The other one is this one is full help. This one goes a little bit more advanced, right? If you wanted to dig in a little bit more and you wanted to get more out of this, it gives you more of a full description, full syntax. You can see that it gives you two types of ways to use this. One of the things I do want to point out that I recently learned is if you use something in the first one, you cannot mix them up. So if I'm using, let's say I'm using get command and I use fully qualified module, and it's not, well, it's on the second one too, but what I'm trying to say is basically if you start on one of them, you cannot mix up the parameters in the other. So you got to stick with whichever one you're going to follow. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, they're like sets of parameters, and some parameters aren't available in both. You know, different commands work different ways, but that shows you the different options you have.
Thank you. So yeah, so that's pretty much that. So I mentioned the ISC VS Code. The ISC is still around. It's not deprecated. Microsoft is doing security, but they're not putting any new features. They're recommending VS Code. I use VS Code and Terminal, and I'll probably show a little quick demo on that. I like both of them, but for me, VS Code took over ISC. It gives me the same IntelliSense. Thank you. So it gives me the same IntelliSense as, but people that started with ISC still like the ISC. So I'm getting used to VS Code and Terminal. I like both of them. So those are some of the things that I like. Any questions so far? All right. So I mentioned the $ in front of PS version table. So basically that's a variable, right? And they basically just, I was confused at first when I first saw it. I used to be like, daunting, like this whole PowerShell thing is just, but once you get to really understand some of what's behind it, it becomes a little bit more clear. Everything is foggy. And once you start to read, so basically the variable is just a placeholder. It starts with a $. But the $ is not part of the variable name. The $ just tells PowerShell that this is a variable. So that's the whole thing. It's just it just signifies to the shell that we're using a variable. And I got some examples here, right? So this one, I made a variable called get service. So you see my second line, I didn't have to type out get service. And sometimes we'll have a script that's really long and something like that. So once you get into that more advanced, you might use a variable to say, okay, I'm not going to keep typing this command, but I could type this command $service and then pipe that into get member. Or I could use that same get service, the get service variable service, and I could type out the third line. So you see, I don't have to type out get service every time. I could use the variable. And I think it's been really good. So, and again, we'll try to do a demo on this. Next one is modules. So modules are a way to extend the shell, basically. And basically, a lot of vendors, they're doing modules to be able to support their products. You have vendors that do that. And one of the places that you go to get the modules is PowerShell Gallery. And I'll pull that up. But one thing I recently came about, and this happened the last, I don't know how, I would say in the last few months, PowerShell Get was an old way of finding, installing, and updating PowerShell modules. They changed. Microsoft is going into what's called Microsoft PowerShell PS Resource Get module. And I think that's the way we're kind of in the direction that they want to go to. So I think that Microsoft PowerShell Resource Get module is the way we're going to start moving into that direction. So Any questions so far? Get module would be like if you want to get a list of your modules, and then import module would be you want to import. Now I did, again, this is all new for me and myself out there. I did try to do some things with PowerShell PS resource get, and it didn't work, but I used it on import module and it worked. So it just depends. I think it's still being used. I just think that some modules are not there yet, right? So I'm still trying to learn that whole thing.
What I'll say to forget module 2 is there is I think it's dash list available, because by default it only shows currently imported modules. But if you do dash list available, you can see all the modules that you have installed, even ones that aren't currently.
Okay. Thank you. So security. So I hear people saying that, oh, my security guy, my security person won't allow us to use PowerShell. There's so many risks. They're gonna give me more than what I need. So PowerShell will not give you more access than you need. If you can't create users, you won't create users with PowerShell. It's not gonna work because your permissions are not at that level. So people say, oh, well, I could just use PowerShell and create users or do all these type of things. You can't. If your permissions don't allow you to do that, you won't do that. So that's one thing that you hear a lot. And then, oh, well, it's going to be able to run scripts. Well, there's a set execution policy that, and I put it there. If it's set to certain, obviously, if it's set to unrestricted, then all scripts run. But I think by default is remote signed.
I think default
is restricted.
And important to note, I wouldn't consider this a security boundary. Because like you see at the bottom there, bypass used by application developers, anybody could use that. So while it's helpful to accidentally prevent you executing scripts by having it unrestricted, I wouldn't consider it a security boundary.
Okay. So,
but if you're going to try and run commands or run scripts by default, you're going to need to know that you have to get it out of restricted.
Okay. So yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions so far? All right. And then my last slide is going to be some helpful links. These are some of the things I've been using. Some of the books that I've used thus far that I've invested in, and some of the websites that I use. I think this has really, these links and these people that have given to the community have made it really easy for me to learn PowerShell. A lot of people have done some amazing things. And now with AI, you guys haven't checked out Doug Fink's page, go check him out. He's been doing some amazing things. I mean, everybody on there, but I called him out because he's the one I've been really looking at lately. Everybody here is on that list, and the books. I can't emphasize the whole Learn PowerShell in a Month of Lunches. That has been really good. I also have Mike Robbins. I got his book from Meetup, and then Jeff Hicks. He if you sign up for his newsletter, he sends out like little tips and little tricks that could kind of help. And I just want to kind of like share all this because it's helping me, and those that are struggling, could help them get to something that might be able to help them. Any questions so far? Yeah.
Do you have the extensions you use for VS Code? I saw there was one for PowerShell extension. Was there any other helpful ones that you've tried?
I've only used the PowerShell one. I don't know if Andrew.
So there's an extension pack by Justin Grody called like the PowerShell extension pack. I think that's what it's called. I can find the link for it, but that has a ton of really good plugins. I mean, like 50. So you have to go through if you want to be a little bit more limited, but a ton of quality of life improvements, things for the different Azure resources, things to make errors more visible. There's a lot of good stuff in there. I think he's given some talks about it too in the past.
You said it Justin Grody?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I guess we could try to do a demo or something here. Anything in the chat? Oh my goodness.
External display is disconnected, it says, but it looks like it's not disconnected.
No, I escaped out of it to open up
Oh, gotcha.
to do some so this is what I use. So this is one of the ones I use. This is Visual Studio Code, and then I have the terminal. So I left this. I'm gonna bring down Visual Studio Code and just I left this like this. I left this demo like I mean I left my terminal with an update, as you guys can see.
Share screen.
Huh?
Share screen.
Oh, I'm sharing screen.
Yeah. Yep. See PowerShell.
Okay. See it. So I'm using terminal here, and you guys can see that I have a new release came out. The good thing about this is that they give you a link for this if you're missing one. So I left it alone just to kind of do the demo here. I did it on my other machine. So basically this is where you would get it at. And this is pretty neat because it gives you hashes. So those that are in security understand when we download something like this, it's good because it kind of gives us the hash for it. So I come and I'll download. I use the MSI one. And basically what it would do, it would download it. And this is just, I just left it to show. One thing I forgot to mention while this downloads is to use PowerShell, you would have to be an administrator to do certain commands. Some of the get ones work fine, but when you really want to do some of the other stuff, you have to be an administrator. So I'm going to run that. Close this. And look at, we all seen this famous icon, and I like to enable most of them. I'll leave that one for now. And that's just that. I know it's
May I have your attention, please? The library will be closing in 30 minutes and our computers shut down 15 minutes before closing. Thank you.
I'll go, someone's talking to the Zoom. Yeah, quite loud.
So let me close this. So I know that it's easy. What do I have open that's not? Sorry. It's doing its thing. So one of the things while it updates, I know that I was used to, I don't want to say we because but I was used to always, it was easy to just hit run and type CMD, right? To do things. And so what I recently came across was when you type run and you do PowerShell, just those 4 letters, it opens up PowerShell, right? So I'm just trying to find ways, and I'm going to just share ways that I've been trying to use, especially being so novice and so not experienced as other people out there, just finding ways for people that are like me, that are struggling to find them and transition into stop using CMD, right? And IP config and all those that we have been used to. I've been forcing myself to use this. It does take me a little bit more time, but I've learned that the commands are sticking, right? So I've been able to, like, for example, here's the one that I've been using, right? So I use that. That's just like ping, right? Yes, it's more, but I'm teaching myself the commands to use that. So that's just, but anyway, so getting back to what I was saying, see, so now I'm running PowerShell 7.4.1. Any questions? Oh yeah, doing the time. Doing good? Yeah. All right. So any questions in Zoom? Andrew, anything out there?
No, see, I saw some compliments, no questions.
Well, I do want to thank everybody. I know that this is probably a lot basic. I do want to thank everybody for, first of all, coming and joining the session. It's my first talk, so but I just feel like I want to get into it more, and I just felt like showing these little few things. If I could do it, I think anybody could do it. And I don't look at, they always say, like, it's been out for so long. Like I started saying, it's never too late to learn it. It's not going away. I'm really honest. It's not going away. And I think that I do thank all the people that are out there that have given so much to the community and that have helped me. And I just feel like I want to do the same to everybody else. So, all right. Well, thank you very much.
Angel, I had a question for you. Just curious, when did you start on this, like figuring this stuff out? Is this just recent for you?
This is recent, yeah. So,
Nice.
I've been coming to these, and I've always been intimidated by all the code and some of the people that have come on, and some of their code is really advanced, but I felt I had to start somewhere. So,
Yeah.
to be honest, I would say really, really getting into it hard. I would say the last 6 months, if I had to be honest. I've seen a lot of like people that I shared off my link, the links. Some of them are really hard, but I just watch it. I just watch and learn. And so, yeah, to answer your question, just the last few months, maybe 6 months.
Steve, we talk more
I
about
do have
that.
another question. I'm just curious, right? I work with a lot of people who are just getting started or thinking about getting started learning PowerShell. What would you say is maybe the most confusing thing that you've like had to really wrap your head around so far? Or maybe two or three if there's more than one.
So my biggest thing is looking at somebody's code and just mind blowing. Like you have these syntax and curly braces and commas and parentheses. I I'm trying to dissect it at my own pace. So those have been intimidating for me, and I think that that's why I prolonged it so long. But now that I kind of understand and I'm learning about what those things do, and they don't really, as of right now, some of it I could just do it without the parentheses. And then you see like the whole variable. I saw that and I was like, oh my goodness, what is that? And once you learn it, it's like, oh my God, so it's just a placeholder for that. Okay, now that I know that dollar sign means that the shell knows that that's a variable, that kind of makes me better at that. But at first, I was very like, I was just appalled, like, oh my God, I can't learn this. This is hard. So I would say looking at other people's codes is really intimidating. Yeah, that would have to be my first and only one.
Awesome
Thank you for the
stuff.
question.
Yeah, thank you.
You had a question?
Yeah, so we just talk more about that. So you said that it took you longer to learn how to do it using PowerShell. You used to do these CV commands.
Yeah.
But it's time well spent and then saving time.
Yeah, it does. Today was a perfect example. Like I said, I had to pull some memberships out of a person and compare them. And I know there's probably a better way or faster, but the person had she was a lot of groups, a lot. And I just started to, I remember I saw a command in one of those videos I saw, and I was like, I went to the get help and I started to read the get help, and I was able to run a command that pulled everything into a text file for me from that user. So today it just couldn't be better for my talk, right? Because it was like, don't get me wrong, it was a little intimidating and it took me a little longer, but next time I shared it with my team, they were happy, we saved it, and it's just, okay, cool, another check under my belt that I figured that out. So thank you for the question. Yeah. Yeah, no, go ahead.
Not only work learning and PowerShell here today. And it sort of reminded me about the PowerShell promise, you know, about that. You talked about the Monad manifesto.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with the promise. I know about the monad.
Yeah, it's something about like.
I mean,
I'll misquote them nicely. Yeah. It's about like a dedication to making the lives of operations and people working on operations tasks better.
Yeah, and I think part of it was, if you invest in PowerShell, invest in yourself, learn PowerShell, be better.
Oh, you're talking about that one.
Maybe just something.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll make it a good experience for you. Yep. That's pretty.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm just, getting away from CMD and using PWSH, really just PowerShell. That's, but, any other questions?
For some of these more advanced scripts that you've come across, have you ever put it in ChatGPT to maybe help explain it a little better or reverse engineer it?
So, yes. So I had to come up with recently, I was told to come up with something to use to send us an email, So I first went to Microsoft to see if there was anything that there was a PowerShell mail command. There was. So then I asked ChatGPT, I need a command. I need to use this module to create me a script that will be able to use my email to send me a test email with the body, and it spit it out. So then what I did was, so I just didn't want the answer, right? Yes, I want the answer because my boss wanted me to figure it out, but I also wanted to dig deep into it, right? And one of the things that it kind of asks you is for your password, right? So now how am I going to give this my password, right? Because now I got to use it. Well, don't quote me on this, but there is a way that PowerShell takes it and encrypts your password and it saves it encrypted. So I try to take that value and try to see if I could uncrypt it and see if it gave my password in case somebody does have it. I couldn't figure it out, right? But make your story short, I was able to dissect the what ChatGPT told me, and I was able to learn a little bit more. It was still a little over my head because it gave me a big thing, but I was able to figure out, okay, I'm going to use SMTP for this. I'm going to use this port. I'm going to use this command that took my password and encrypted it, right? I think it was, I think it's get credential, something like that. So, but I just didn't want the answer. I wanted to figure it out. So yes, I used it, but I'm not going to, I'm not going to learn it, right? Like that. So if I could dissect it and understand what it's asking me, then I could use that information to what I'm going to tell when I start writing it. Okay, it said this. Let me do this. So yeah.
I've done a little bit of that myself, just experimenting. Like I have a general idea of something that I want to script, and then I ask for suggestions. It spits out an example. It's like, okay, explain to me what this portion of the script means, because at this point in my learning of PowerShell, I don't know. And then they come back and try and explain it a little better. Kind of augmented the learning approach to it, but I like the way that you're explaining to learn it. I think that's better because ChatGPT would be more of a crutch than actually help you learn fully.
And let's be honest. ChatGPT is learning, right? But is it giving me the right answer? right?
Listening.
So you know, this is a way for me to learn, you know, so, but that's a good one. Any other questions? Again, I thank everybody for their time. Hopefully you guys got something out of this talk. It was good for me. So I thank you for allowing me and Andrew to come and just speak. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, people. Catch you later.